From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, hon.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Well, good morning, everyone. Looks like if you are going to be out and about this morning, be prepared for the fact that there will be some dense fog in some areas, including parts of the valley. Now, typically we see the densest fog out towards Glenn and Butte counties southward, and we see less as you head out towards Red Bluff and Redding. But again, just be prepared for the fact that you could run into some dense fog at times. You know, sometimes with these types of situations, it's clear and then suddenly you hit a big fog bank. So just be prepared for that. And I do anticipate many of the inland and mountain valleys to possibly see some of that fog in the morning as well. So be prepared for that. That'll be the case through the morning, and then eventually the rain kind of moves on in. So we do have, of course, as I've been mentioning here, the areas of dense fog. Now the wet weather will return today. It's going to start from west to east, and even in the morning we start to see some of those showers making their way into the valley, and then eventually in the eastern mountains seeing some of that activity as well. Snow levels through this week, this weekend, and even next week look to be fairly high. I'm expecting 5,000 feet and higher pretty much for the next 7 to 10 days. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to see rain and snow every day. I'm just saying that as these systems come through, they're going to be fairly warm. So looking at the valley, you've got, again, that fog coming in the morning, maybe some of the, of course, the showers kind of kicking in off and on throughout the day. It's not going to be that steady rain throughout the day, but I do anticipate to see some wet weather. And then you can see for Siskiyou and Modoc County, of course, seeing that potential for rain. And of course, I say rain, right? Because you have to mainly go, I think today they could get as low as 4,000 feet. So we're borderline, not Shasta City. I think maybe some snowflakes out towards Alturas, Susanville, a little borderline as well. But what we're seeing here as we look at the North Coast, yeah, overcast, mainly overcast skies, showers for the inland areas, and not to mention out towards Trinity County as well. All right, so here's what we've got going on. Remember yesterday I was talking about we've got this area of low pressure. You can clearly see it right here. And then we're going to see some energy break off from that. You can see a bit of a spin. So it's this spin, this area of low pressure right here, that's going to be kind of moving up to our north, and we've got all of this moisture that's associated with it. And that moisture is all coming in from the subtropics. So it's a warmer air mass, and that's why we do expect those higher snow levels. Let's take a look at Futurecast. That doesn't mean we're not going to see any snow, because when you look at Futurecast here at 9 a.m., you see some snow, right? But again, you're mainly above 4,000 or 5,000 feet at this point. Light showers to start off at 9 o'clock in the morning. Showers not that heavy even for the coast. Okay, now we're taking about the noon hour. The rain still fairly light in the valley, heavier rainfall in northern Trinity County. Now we're seeing the snow again out there. You see how it's kind of within that borderline where Alturas is. I think it's going to be mainly in the form of rain from out Shasta. If you see some snowflakes mixed in there, don't be surprised. And then, of course, still fairly dry for the most part off in the eastern mountains. Now I'm going to take you to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we're starting to see it get a little bit heavier, a little bit more in the way of some of those we'll call it light to moderate rainfall in the valley. Again, we're seeing more blue on the map here, but once again, that's because we're getting up into those higher elevations at this point. You see where Alturas is, and we're kind of in that borderline where we're seeing that kind of bit of that rain snow. But look at this, we're seeing some deeper shades of blue indicating some heavy snow. So for some of those higher elevations, especially the warmer mountains, I think we'd be looking at some decent amounts of snow up there. In the meantime, we're still seeing that nice little band of rain over the valley. It's beginning to taper off here for the coast by this afternoon. Now we take it about 6 p.m. and we see that last little push of moisture push through the valley. You're seeing the rain. Now you see how we're seeing kind of a bit of that rain-snow mix, mainly above 4,000, 5,000 feet. See where Chester is, kind of that rain-snow mix area. So once again, we're just not seeing those very low snow levels. You think about the storm we saw this past weekend, it's not going to have the same impact. Travel's not going to be as much of a concern. I think I-5 is going to be okay. West of Highway 2 of I-5 should be okay. However, Highway 36, there may be some chain requirements going in later today. And as you go above those higher mountain passes, say around 5,000 feet, that's when you start running into some problems with chain requirements. But then by tonight, you can see it's really starting to kind of taper off. Now there's another disturbance that tonight and into early tomorrow morning may produce some activity here in parts of Siskiyou, Modoc County, not to mention Del Norte County. Actually seeing some pretty heavy rainfall for Del Norte County late tonight and into tomorrow morning. So Crescent City, Gasquet, for example, yeah, you're going to be dealing with some of that heavier rainfall once again here tonight and into tomorrow morning. You see how it kind of starts to taper off throughout the day. So a much drier afternoon. And I think everyone, for the most part, is going to see those drier conditions. And then as we go into Thursday, again, just kind of some light instability, maybe a little bit of activity here for Thursday morning out towards Lassen and Modoc County, nothing major. So Thursday, not very active. It's not until Friday and this weekend that we see a better chance for some of that wet weather moving on in. There's your forecast rain totals. I think it might be overdoing it a bit, but I would say probably closer to a half an inch in the valley, give or take. And of course, look at how much we're seeing out towards Del Norte County. This just kind of really illustrates that we're expecting to see some of that heavier rainfall kind of last a little bit longer, especially as we go into tonight and early tomorrow morning. All right, let's take a look at the snow. Now, it is picking up on places like Ayden and Chester and Quincy. And yes, we could see some light accumulation, say around 4,000, 4,500 feet, but it won't last for very long. And really, you have to go in those higher mountain peaks before you really start seeing that more significant snow. So is travel going to be a concern on I-5? I don't think so. But again, you get up around 5,000, 6,000 feet, that's where you start running into problems. So that's where we have the higher elevations and the higher mountain passes is east of I-5 on 44, 36, Highway 89, for example, too, around Snowman Summit. You could be dealing with that as well. Highway 36 could run into a few problems here. But on Highway 299 between Reading and Eureka, I think you should probably be okay. Just be prepared for those wet roads. And we did see of course, some mudslides there as well. All right, let's take a look at the winds. Now, the winds aren't going to be a factor really across the board, but I just wanted to illustrate that here. Later today, I do expect those winds to pick up along the coast. This is the reason why we do have that small craft advisory kind of kicking on in later on this afternoon. Now you can see as we go into tomorrow morning, some of those higher mountain peaks could be looking at the potential for some gusty winds there as well. And still pretty gusty even along the coast here, especially out towards Del Norte County as we go into tomorrow morning. Of course, that's in conjunction with that heavy rainfall you'll be seeing as well. 6 p.m. Wednesday, we're still seeing those gusty winds there. Warner Mountains, some of those higher elevations off to the east, seeing some winds. And by the way, even today, I think we can see some gusty winds towards Shasta Valley. And there's 10 a.m. on Thursday. Winds pretty strong off the coast, just not as bad on the coast. Places like Crescent City still about 15 miles per hour. Let's take a look at that long range. Now it's Friday. And then we go into Saturday, Sunday. But look where all of these storms are coming from. They're all coming in from the south and west. This is warmer air. This is why we do expect to see those higher snow levels. But we do expect off and on rain starting today all the way through early next week. Clearly see these atmospheric rivers just kind of coming in. This is the moisture source. All of this is the moisture source for the rain that we're going to see here over the next 7 to 10 days. This is a warmer air mass. Again, remember what we saw at the beginning of the season. We saw decent rain, but we saw very high snow levels as a result of these atmospheric rivers and the source of moisture coming in from the southwest, the subtropics. This is the same type of setup that we have. So the last several weeks, we've had colder air move on in that allowed to give us those lower snow levels, really give those ski parks and ski resorts the snow that they desperately needed. Now, all we can do is hope that a lot of those lower elevation ski resorts and ski parks don't see a lot of rain on top of that snow, because that, of course, can create problems. All right, let's take a look at the precipitation outlook. Still looking at some good dark greens in there in the extended range. This just continues to illustrate that we could be looking at a pretty good chance for some rain in the long range. But this is also illustrating that warmer air, again, talking about those higher snow levels moving on in. Wave heights are expected to be about 10 feet heading out here. Now, as we go on into your Wednesday, Yeah, it looks like they're going to kind of increase a little bit here, but nothing major. We're not seeing major influxes of major waves and then a big drop. So we're just going to kind of see them fluctuate a little bit by a few feet here. Looking at your marine forecast, winds from the southeast at about 15 to 25 knots. Your waves from the west at 6 feet at about 15 seconds. There, of course, is that small craft advisory here for later this afternoon and into this evening. Here's your neighborhood forecast for Trinity County. Now, what I've got here is mainly dry conditions Wednesday, Thursday. I will mention this for everyone. Don't be surprised if on the days you don't see any rain here for Wednesday, Thursday in particular, that you see a passing sprinkler or light shower at some point in the day, late at night, early in the evening. But bottom line, the main event will be today. And then, of course, as we go into Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday. Off and on chances for rain in that forecast. And of course, you see those high snow levels too. Temperatures today for the North Coast are going to be in the low to even some mid-50s. Places like Eureka, about 55, 50 degrees for Orleans, 55 for Smith River, and there's Crescent City with a high of about 54 degrees. Here's your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Again, take note of those snow levels. Now, they could get as low as 4,000 feet today. So yeah, Mount Shasta, if you see kind of a rain snow mix today, don't be too terribly surprised. In places, in some of those higher elevations, you are definitely dealing with those snowflakes. Now, taking a look at Modoc County, we could see some of those rain and snow mixed in there as well. There's Calpines with a high of 40 degrees for Alturas, as well as Canby. Tule Lake, about 37 degrees. All right, take you off into the eastern mountains, and there, take a look at that Susanville 7-day forecast. So I think it'll be mainly dry on Wednesday. Maybe some morning activity here on Thursday, but for the most part, Thursday not very heavy, and then better chances for off and on rain coming into Friday through the weekend and even into early next week. And your neighborhood forecast for the Valley, brought to you by Haas Farms. Well, there you can see some of that morning fog again here for Wednesday, drying out on Thursday, and then more wet weather off and on for Friday through at least early next week. Temperatures today are going to be in the low 50s, 51 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, 48 degrees for Whiskeytown. Looks like Cottonwood, about 51. Red Bluff, 51 degrees, and Palisadro, a high of 52 degrees. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day outlook. And you can see, of course, the drier conditions, as I mentioned, and even warmer on Thursday, the high of about 60. But I do expect to see off and on showers. Now, don't look at, Friday through Monday and go, wow, it's going to be a complete washout, because it won't. I think we're going to see the showers coming in. I think lighter showers on Saturday, as indicated by a little bit more sunshine in there. And then Sunday, Monday, that continued chance for off and on showers.